remain standing for a word of prayer from Evelyn.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for everyone gathered here. Lord, we pray that you be with us as we start this meeting until the end. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Let's all get seated, please. CS Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Interior, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, the Permanent Secretary, Broadcasting, Madam Esther Koimet, all the principals of the National Computer and Cyber Crimes Coordination Committee, all the CEOs, the committee representative members, the representation from key organizations, the telcos. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Colonel Lombati, and I'll quickly request the CS, Minister of Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, to allow you, give you an overview of why we are here, and then I'll quickly invite the PS Minister of Interior, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, who will give a few remarks, invite the CS to make a speech, and launch this occasion. I'll seek your indulgence. We want to go with speed. We expect to take approximately 1 hour for this event, and therefore, if you have any issues, the gents are on the right, outside and to the right, and also the ladies in the same direction. Sir, I wish to take this opportunity to give you an overview of this occasion, and I will take you through a short presentation on the launch of the National Computer and Cyber Crimes Coordination Committee, NC4. And the theme of this event is a secure cyberspace for the people of Kenya. Sir, as you are aware that the country continues to get more computerized, more networks. Each one of us, all Kenyans, have a mobile device. Our internet connectivity continues to increase. Our ways of operation has gone to the ICT environment. Equally, the enemies, the criminals, have moved to that environment, disrupting the key services the government has put in place. And at the same time, we also have a responsibility to put up measures to protect ourselves. So, sir, as a matter of introduction, we are in a new domain of warfare and operation. And that domain requires that all of us put up measures for national security. Countries, states, and non-state actors, sir, criminals are taking advantage of this new operating environment to conduct war, at the same time crime. Some of these examples include the stealing of information, we call it espionage, destruction of critical infrastructure services, fraud, as well as undermining institutions and even individuals in our society. So it's important to note that data, information, and information systems, including the critical information infrastructures, have become a strategic national resource for any nation state that requires to be protected in all means. It is on this regard that the Constitution of Kenya 2010, in Article 2381, provides for the protection against both internal and external threats to our businesses and Kenyan citizens. Sir, it's on this basis that as Kenyan citizens, business owners, and government, we all have a duty and responsibility to ensure that the internet environment, ICTs, and critical information infrastructures are safeguarded. So I'll quickly give you an overview of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act 2018. This act was assented to law by the Commander-in-Chief of the Republic of Kenya, and it commenced on 30th May 2018. The act, sir, was in response to the increased cyber vulnerabilities within our environment, threats and criminal attacks, and the need for a national coordination authority. At the same time, to coordinate various efforts towards extending the usage as well as management of the threat. So the Act provides for timely and detection, prohibition, prevention, response, investigation, and prosecution of computer and cyber crimes in this country. So the objects of the Act provides for protection of all critical information infrastructures in all manners, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So it has 6 parts, mainly for coordination, which provides for a framework for coordination. It provides a list of offenses. It provides for investigation procedures, international cooperation, and jurisdiction. So, while that is the case, the Act faced a number of litigations, which were dismissed by the High Court, and all the clauses were lifted on February 2020. So I now take you to the composition of the National Computer and Cyber Crime Coordination Committee, NC4, as per the Act. So the Act provides for the Principal Secretary for the State Department of Interior and Citizen Services as the chair, provides for the Principal Secretary for State Department for ICT and Innovation, provides for the Attorney General, Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Inspector General of the National Police Service, the Director General of the Communications Authority of Kenya, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, the Director of the Secretariat, and who is the Secretary to the committee. So the mandate of this committee, the overall mandate, sir, is to oversee, provide strategic direction, coordinate actions, and monitor and implement and enforce this act and any other laws of Kenya. Sir, further, they are required to advise the government of Kenya on all cybersecurity matters, including those that come with emerging technologies, such as Internet of Things, 5G, among others. So also, they are mandated to ensure that all unlawful use of data, information systems, and networks is prevented. So further, they are expected to monitor the national cybersecurity situation, respond to various incidences arising from it, conduct investigation, and ensure prosecution of all those offenders. So, at the same time, they are responsible for the protection of all Kenya's critical information infrastructure, including the management of the National Encryption System, which is the National Public Key Infrastructure. So they are also expected to come up with programs and framework for training and awareness on aspects dealing with national cybersecurity. Thank you, sir. Welcome, the CS Ministry of ICT. Finally, sir, the mandate of the committee is to be the national point of contact for all regional engagements and international cooperation, collaboration, and information sharing. Sir, I now wish to conclude by saying that the government of Kenya is committed to safeguarding Kenyan citizens, businesses, and government against all sorts of threats, including those of computer and cyber crimes. This protection of our national data, information systems, and critical information infrastructures is vital for Kenya's development and security. So this will be achieved through a whole of society approach, which is whole of government and multi-agency, as we already have a multi-agency coordination framework. Therefore, sir, the National the Computer and Cyber Crimes Coordination Committee will provide the strategic direction, coordination, and management of all cybersecurity matters in Kenya, and therefore, as Kenyan citizens, business owners, and critical information infrastructure owners and government, we all have a duty and responsibility to support NC4 and ensure a safe internet environment, ICTs, and national services. Sir, I now call upon the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Interior, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, to make remarks, and thereafter, sir, he'll invite the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of ICT, who will make remarks, and further invite you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. CS, Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, CS for ICT, Mr. Joe Moshero, colleague for Broadcasting and Telecommunication, Esther, and all the other colleagues. We have representation here from about 39 institutions. I want to recognize the principals in the committee. We have the Director General for Communication Authority. We have the CRJ, I saw her somewhere represented. And all my colleagues, good morning. We are here today, CS, for a very brief but very important function because like we have been told by the head of the Secretariat, we are in an era where the tools of war have moved from the physical ones to cyber. But before I make a few comments, CS, allow me to introduce the members of the Coordination Committee who the law has proposed, and also the principals have seconded as their alternates. And I'll start by introducing the chair, who is my alternate, because by law, the PS Interior chairs this coordination committee, Mr. Motiso. He is the one chairing the coordination committee on my behalf. We have Hesbon, who is a director at Ministry of ICT, who is in the coordination committee representing PS ICT. Asante. We have Jennifer Nganga. Jennifer Nganga is a principal state counsel in the office of the Attorney General. She is representing the AG in the committee. We have Brigadier Nderito. Brigadier Nderito is from KDF, and he is representing the CDF in the committee. We have Simon Kipruto. Simon Kipruto is the head of Cyber Crimes Unit at the DCI. He is the IG representative at the committee. We have Vincent Ongere. Vincent Ongere is representing, he's an operation director at NIS. He's representing DG NIS. We have Joseph Nzano. Joseph Nzano is the head of cybercrime at CA. He's representing the DG Communication Authority. We have Evelyn Maika, the lady who led us here in prayers. She's a senior principal prosecution counsel at the office of the Director of Public Prosecution, representing the DPP. We have Eunice Koyani. Eunice Koyani is Assistant Director, Fusion Unit at the Central Bank of Kenya, representing the Governor of CBK. And lastly, we have Ivan Sombati. Ivan Sombati, he is the Director at the committee. During our formative meeting, CS, we agreed, because of the nature of the operation, just like has been put before us, and what the law requires us to do, we have identified at a technical level inclusion of critical agencies that we think will add value to this, and the law allows us to co-opt them. So we have the KRA, who is the representative from KRA at the technical level. We have NCCC, we have a representation from NCCC. We have FRC. FRC, we have also co-opted them into the technical committee. We have ODPC, we've co-opted them. We have ICTA. ICTA, we have also co-opted them. We have a representative. And we have also left space because of the nature of cybercrime that continues changing. We have left space for co-option of other institutions that we will deem fit. Like has been said, this law was gazetted, and we have had all the nominees in place. We have been able to appoint, and CS, you remember, we gave you that letter to sign, appoint the director of the secretariat. We have been able to get some office space at Herufi House, and today marks the beginning now of the full journey, having done all the groundwork. And I think the importance of operationalizing this secretariat, CS, all of us understand. I don't think there is a greater victim of this crime than yourself in terms of attacks. In fact, as late as yesterday, there is a Kenyan who had decided that you have given a public holiday today. And I think we can treat this as casual as they have wanted us to do it. But by just that action alone, if people believed, you can see what would happen to our economy today if nobody reported to work, just because some criminal sat somewhere and decided he is a friend Matiang'i, and therefore Kenyans will have a Diwali holiday. And I think without even going into so many that you are aware of that have been a source of insecurity in this country, that have been a source of even personal attacks that result in character assassination, where we have no recourse, because whenever these people are taken to court, there has not been a strong law enough to prosecute these people. And all we see is people being taken to court, and within a very short time the case collapses because we don't have appropriate law to support the allegations. And I think operationalization of this secretariat and the law provide us as a country with a very good foundation and very good recourse for these criminals who are hiding under the, behind the keyboards and their small smartphones. And I think we are happy We are happy as the coordination committee that you have accepted to come and launch this so that work can start. We'll be very happy, CS, if at the launch we get one person arrested this afternoon, so that we can feel that the launch actually happened. I know you have a tight schedule, so we won't keep you long, but I would really ask for your indulgence that I ask on behalf of the rest of us in the coordination committee, ask Esther Koimet and Chiloba to just make, because of the key role that they play in this, just make on behalf of all of us. So Ezra, just a quick, I know it's an ambush. Esther, you can be preparing what to say. It's an ambush as well, but on behalf of all the others, please.
Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior, National Coordination, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of ICT, Innovation, Youth Affairs, PS, Minister of ICT, of course, PS, Wanakibicho, all protocols observed. I think for us, being here today, I think is important in the sense that given the work that we do on a daily basis, we interact a lot in terms of the ICT sector, both in terms of the investors and the day-to-day way of living. And as Colonel Mbati mentioned, ICT has become part and parcel of our lives. And if you also look at the World Economic Forum rating in terms of the major risks globally for the next 10 years, cyber security, cyber crime becomes critical in the manner in which we order our society. And for us at the Communication Commission of Kenya, we got a department that coordinates work around cybersecurity and is working closely with the committee. We got adequate resources that have allowed us to be able to monitor a lot of activities in the cyber world. And so far, one CS to report that since we started this program, we've been able to identify and advise on cyber crime or cyber security related issues that number up to 500,000. I think that number is correct. 500,000 advisories that we've been able to issue so far. And we've also moved from 6 million cyber security issues every day to monitor issues that now amount to 150. Traffic, there's about 150 issues every quarter. And that's a lot. It shows you that there's a lot of activity happening in the cyber world. And for us as regulators, some of our critical players or partners that we work with, you look at the telecommunication industry, Safaricom, for example, the banking industry, for example, the broadcasting that has gone digital. So us working together to coordinate work around cybersecurity, I think is going to be very critical, and not just now, but for the future. So, Bwana CS, we are very glad that at least this approach is now more collaborative, and we avail ourselves together with our resources and our staff and our team to be able to ensure that this coordination framework of the NC4 works for the greater good of our country and, of course, globally, given the interconnected nature of how the world is operating today. So allow me to stop there, Bwana CS, and thank you very much for this occasion.
CS Matiang'i, CS Musheru, my colleague PS Kibicho, colleagues around the room, good morning, or it's already afternoon. I think this is really one of the most critical institutions of governance in the country as we look into the getting the digital-led economy. And if we even if we think just about the economy itself, what this says about our investment climate, that actually we have an institution that is dealing with issues of cyber crime. We are in the process in the Ministry of looking at of developing the policy on e-commerce, and it will be very, very important that we ensure that cybercrime the risk of cybercrime is dealt with, and we have an institution that is addressing that. So I really don't have much more to say, just to say that it's really, really important, and I'm happy we are here today because we've had, obviously, we've been looking for the launch of this committee. So it's one of the things that at least we can tick off today and say this is done. I was happy to hear about the fact that we now have a home for this institution, and that we are actually working together as you know, all aspects, because we all need to bring hands on the deck to be able to deal with this major issue. Dr. Bitange took us to the US, I think it was 2012 or something like that, and we went around from Washington up to the Silicon Valley, and I was really horrified because it was the first time I actually understood this issue of cybercrime. And at that time, they were even telling us that at that time, the proceeds from cybercrime had exceeded the proceeds from drugs. So you can imagine where it is today, and I'm sure my CS knows more of this. So thank you very much. And thank you for allowing us to say something. God bless.
Thank you very much, Ezra and Esther, for also the commitment to support the operationalization of NC4, because it's only when government has teeth that people will start taking cybercrime as a serious form of crime that is punishable. CS, let me now take this opportunity to invite the CSICT to give his remarks, and thereafter invite you to give your remarks, and thereafter launch the NC4. CS Michelle.
Thank you very much, Engineer. CS Matiang'i, our chief guest for this event, PS Kibisho, PS Koimet, distinguished members of this society. I'm very happy, and I can tell you, cybercrime has been something we've talked about for a long time, even in developing this law, and getting the law through Parliament, all the drama we went through. CS, we had to do a lot of public consultation, and almost everything we do ends up in court. We go through a lot of processes. Now a lot of what we are doing seems to be ending up also in the newspapers. So last time we were together, I think we were asked to have lighter duties by the people that are afraid of what is being launched today. Let me say I'm extremely happy that we are seeing this law being operationalized. And I'm really happy to see the strength of the team that is involved. This is the whole village. I think no one has been left out that should be in this space, because it is so critical for Kenya and really for the world, for us to be able to ensure that people who are misusing these systems that we have are brought to book. I know, CS, you've got a lot of things that you will say about this, so let me not, you're the chief guest, and me, I can talk or even preach about what's going to happen. But what I am happy about is that today Kenyans can know that this law is operational. and that people, when once arrested, now they will be dealt with. You know, some of the sad things is that people will not only give public holidays, but they even kill people on social media. We've lost some very important people on social media only to find out that they're alive. But their families have gone through so much distress and stress. Things that we're trying to achieve as government, people will take clips from Ghana, clips from South Africa, and bring them and say this is what is happening. And they feel that they can hide behind both the laws or lack, and they fought to get us where we are now. Because we've gone through the court process, we've gone through public participation, I believe we have one of the best laws to be able to protect our country. And in addition, we've got data protection, we have access to information, we have all these other laws. When put together, we can see that as a digital economy, this country is going to move very, very fast. Alongside this is protection of our resources and protection of services that we put in place. You're aware the other day, Facebook faced challenges. Some people interfered with their systems, and for 6 hours they were not able to recover. We're vulnerable to such systems if we don't have strong laws and people's day-to-day jobs is focused on making sure that our infrastructure and our systems are working. We've really gone digital as a country, whether it is through the mobile money activities or even all these activities of social media and others. And so we must ensure that we're protecting even our children, protecting everybody in the way that we move. So, Chief Guest, let me not talk more than that. Let me say I am pleased that we can be able to operationalize this institution today, that this committee, really I encourage you to, as much as possible, incorporate as many people if you need. We have a bunch of data that we will share with you, even with people's names and the things they've been doing, hiding behind the lack of these laws. And we can now deal with them decisively and quickly. And as you've heard from PS Interior, he'd like to arrest some of those today. So we'll provide you the support to be able to do that. But the important thing is that once arrested, they should remain jailed. You know, they should be taken to court, the law is there. Then because some people take a very long time. They go and they come out, they go, come out. Now it's just like it's a normal thing. Create chaos, but you feel you can just get away with it. I think not anymore. So let me stop there and, you know, really take this opportunity to invite my colleague, our chair of Ncccc, CS Fred Matiang'i, to come and address you and also launch this committee. Asante Waziri.
Good morning. My brother and my friend, my colleague, our Cabinet Secretary for ICT, my colleagues in government, PS Kibicho, PS Koimet, our Inspector General, the National Police Service, Mr. Eli Mutiambai, and all of you wonderful people who come from across various institutions in government. I'll be very brief and practical, and I'll go straight to the point. I have this, which is a good speech from PS Kibicho and the wonderful people who work with me, but I'll spare you this speech, which is full of wise sayings from Martin Luther King to Miguna Miguna and all that. And now, I go straight to the issues of the day and be very, very practical about this. My friends, the last time I checked, I was checking with Joe. The cybercrime industry, the last time I checked, was about a $13 billion US industry. And it's probably grown beyond that. Nations around the world are pouring resources into research because the truth of the matter is this. Whether we like it or we don't, from now until probably we exit this universe, our lives are going to be influenced by 3 Ds. data, devices, and designs. Wherever you go, whatever you do, in whatever field you find yourselves, your life is going to be ordered, reordered, organized, or reorganized using devices, using data, or using designs that people come up with. That then means that it has never been much more important as it is now to think hard about cybersecurity. I mean, because of the respectable code of conduct we have to keep as nations, I can't go into quarrels between US and China right now and how cybersecurity is a critical component of those quarrels, or suspicions and tensions between Russia and the US and how cybersecurity is actually at the core of those quarrels and those problems. That's why I'm happy that, you know, my colleagues from the security sector in the broader sense are represented here and they are clued into this. I'll make very simple 5 points. One, we have just started with the formation of the NC4. We have not even begun to scratch the surface of what we need to do as a country. Now is the time for all of us, all institutions involved in the NC4 and so on, to begin to think about massive investment in cybersecurity. Massive investment in terms of training of people, getting people to understand the challenges we are dealing with, the complexity of the problems we are dealing with. You know, forget about somebody from Laikipia claiming that they are my son, or some fellow somewhere, you know, in this world, raining madness about, you know, Diwali holiday. Collapsing a bank, it's real. If we were to share some of the challenges that we have had to deal with in the security sector before, I don't want to share any so that we don't alarm anyone. But colleagues in the room like Joe Musheru and the Director General at the Communications Authority of Kenya know what you wake up every morning. People trying to hack into critical service provision systems to alter information or steal information and so on and so forth. We must invest heavily. That's my point of departure. Now is the time to invest heavily in training people, in preparing ourselves to address the issue of cybersecurity. And as we do, I don't mean taking people to a 1-week course or 2-week courses or 1-day seminar in Mombasa or 2-day seminar in, you know, fly-by-night things that we sometimes do as we joke along public service provision. This is serious business. This is no child's play. We need to be very serious about this thing. Just imagine how we operate the radar systems for aircrafts. Imagine one day some madman goes into our radar system and reconfigures the movement of 5 of our planes while they are on air. Can you imagine the havoc that will cause the country? Or people find their way into the grid and you know, they disable our movement or supply of electricity across the country for a matter of hours. We will lose a number of patients in hospitals and all manner of havoc will happen. You know, people need to appreciate the reality of what we are dealing with. That's why I'm saying now is the time to invest heavily in this. We have started. This is the point of departure. Let us think hard and think about what we need to do in this area. Number 2, let's deepen knowledge. Because you see, for a country like Kenya, we are so blessed and so privileged. We are not only at the cutting edge of knowledge and the operations of the digital world, but we possess gifts and blessings that others don't. You know, I don't want to say this, but I was so proud. I walked into some country, you know, when I was out there in a critical installation where they are working a digital environment. Out of their 58 employees, 28 of them were young Kenyan kids who shouted, "CS," when I arrived, and so on. I mean, which means we have capacities that we need to now deploy, but we need to deepen knowledge. There are 3, when it comes to digital life, there are only 3 people. You are either a digital native, a digital immigrant, or a digital alien. Many people who run government systems are digital aliens. And I mean, and you understand what I mean. They're digital aliens. They do not know anything about, you know, digital life. They will not make, you know, head or tail of what you're telling them. They are terrified of, you know, the digital world and operating in that world. and then they make mistakes in the process, which endanger everyone else's life. Then there are digital immigrants, people in my generation who came into this world recently. We don't understand everything, but we have the curiosity to try to understand. Then there are the digital natives, our children who have grown up in this environment. You are one of the three. You're either a digital alien, a digital native, or a digital immigrant. I would suggest that as much as possible, when it comes to digital transaction and our cyber life, let's try to have as many digital natives as possible. Bring them on board and give them the opportunity because we have them. That is one of the advantages we have that other environments do not have. And I think we should try to invest heavily in raising these people. I mean, look, we have to be proud of this as a country. We have about 5 or 6 schools that are teaching ICT at degree level and even at postgraduate level. Now is the time to challenge these universities to move beyond offering programs and so on, to invest heavily in critical research in cybersecurity and warfare. Because the war next time is going to be fought in the cyberspace, period. That is it. Brigadier Anderito here can tell you, these wonderful people, the war next time is going to be fought in the cyberspace. That's where we need to be very careful about and make sure that we deepen knowledge. So the NC4, as you work on this ecosystem where we are at, I like the idea that PS Kibicho says, let us bring people on board, let us include others. Because the more we expand knowledge, deepen involvement, and bring people on board, the more likely it is that we will deepen knowledge, deepen understanding, and be able to do the right thing as we go forward. Let us build institutional capacities. That's my point number 3. And I'll spend a few minutes on this. I mean no malice. I am trying to be as honest and as plain as a public servant can ever be. Please, NC4, have a meeting with our colleagues at the Judiciary Training Institute, JTI, and persuade them to factor in something called digital jurisprudence as part of the development of the capacities of the judiciary. I mean, no one knows the troubles I have seen, I can sing this again, than myself. Digital migration, we had to go to the Supreme Court. And to be honest with you, when I looked at the judgment of the lower courts, sometimes you don't know whether to laugh or cry. You can see clearly the judges cannot tell the difference between broadband, the spectrum. You can see clearly where the challenges are, even in the judgment as you read it. And there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that we need to invest in this knowledge. No one is born with knowledge of things. We learn. I mean, we are humble enough to say we don't understand this. We ask the digital natives, for example, to educate us and prepare us on what we need to do. Now, my friends, look, from Manhattan to the stock exchange in Singapore, to Nairobi Stock Exchange, to Johannesburg, all transactions are moving to that environment. We have Bitcoin, we have all this. And our conflicts, therefore, are going to move to the digital environment. Who resolves our conflicts? The judiciary. Then they must also be there to be able to resolve the conflicts for us. Because if they are not there, how will they resolve the conflicts we have if they don't have that capacity? I suggest, and I want to ask colleagues like CA who are here, endowed colleagues who may have resources in the institutions and the others, because this thing is also about resources. Let us see whether, for example, I don't know, I need to read the law again on the USF, the Universal Service Fund, to see whether it's just provision of services or there's a window we can use through USF, for example, to pump resources into JTI and work with the judiciary to deepen and strengthen jurisprudence so that digital transactions, digital engagements, and so on are clear. They too understand the complexities and the challenges we are facing. So that when we are talking about impersonation and when we are talking about, for example, duplication of a document or forgery, when it happens in the cyberspace, you are going before someone who understands the challenge as you are dealing with them. Otherwise, you see, you go there and then you have challenges. They don't understand. Now, Joe and I, and Kibicho and Esther here, we are again before the court on Huduma card. Yet, I mean, I don't know whether to scream. I mean, look, who in this world, just tell me, the other day the president of Estonia was around, and you should go to Estonia. I mean, all of you are widely traveled people. which country do people carry cards in bags and so on to sort out things? Some environments now is actually a barcode you need on the phone. And you'll do all your transactions from the supermarket to the petrol station to everywhere and so on. That's all you need. Now, we are fighting in Kenya about whether or not we should have one single source of truth. The US went to the social security number decades ago. How are we going to catch up? That's why I'm saying, my brothers and sisters, I'm trying to be as plain and as sincere as a public servant can be. Let us focus on capacity building. None of us knows everything. Let's be humble enough to know, to go to new frontiers and carry along everyone, because if we leave others behind, we're not better off. Let us move forward, as it were. And one institution that I think we should bring along with us is the judiciary, because the judiciary is a critical actor in dispute resolution, in our business development, whatever investments we are making, whatever conflicts we are going to have, they are fundamental. So we can't force, if there are any of our endowed colleagues in the institutions we have here, poor resources, volunteer resources. Let's build capacity and work with the Judiciary Training Institute, for example, to ensure that we all move forward together. Because you see, if we leave some people behind, we're not going to be fine where we are going. Now, let me tell you, from a political point of view, my point number 4 is the danger we face as a society. And the complexities of cybercrime begin from the very basic and primitive ones of someone forging a document and declaring tomorrow is Diwali, to the complex ones of, breaking into systems, coded frameworks, and so on and so forth. In Kenya, as we approach the general elections, my colleagues who are here from the security sector can agree with me. The Inspector General is here. Our challenge number 1 is the misuse and abuse of social media. That's what we are going to deal with. I mean, you have seen the madness around. Some governments, because they are not as strong and as democratic as ours, or as confident as ours, because we are a confident government, they resort to shutting down the internet or disabling, the Facebook or something like that. I've said this before, and I will say it again here openly. Kenya is not going to do that. We are not going to do that. We are a democracy that has matured. We are facing an election which is going to demonstrate even our greater, democratic maturity. We are going to be fine. We are not going to resort to those other tactics. That one we left a long time ago. Our reputation, the world over, is that we are a strong democracy. No amount of insults to us, those of us in government, or maligning or attempted intimidation is going to tempt us enough to go that road. But while I say that, and while I make those assurances, it's important for us to understand that a time has now come when we are going to do our work the way P.S. Kibicho said. We have lived with this nonsense for a long time. There are people in this society, you might actually call them, for want of a better phrase, cyber terrorists or social terrorists. Their job is just nothing but chaos. They wake up in the morning, they think about the number of lies they should say about Brigadier Nderito. So they write all manner of things and so on, or they just lie, say things about P.S. Koimet. And because we're operating in this ubiquitous environment, they believe you can actually get away with it. And indeed, many of them have gotten away with some of those things. The other day we were counting how many times one of those people is out on bond. Over 8 times. Goes there, gets bond, comes out. Goes there, gets bond, comes out. 8 times. One of them is out 8 times. Mr. Kinoti was telling me the DCI, what are we going to do with this bastard? Because you see, we will take him there tomorrow, then he'll be out, and so on. Now, we all have to be responsible people. Because, I don't think that laws actually, to be very frank with you, and all of you, fortunately, are professionals, you are exposed to people, very well traveled. I don't think laws, in and of themselves, actually bring about what you might call the moral culture in our society. The moral culture in our society is brought about by people making deliberate choices that we are going to live differently. There's nothing wrong with someone having a different view from mine. That's why we are a democracy. I mean, we are here. Imagine a world where we all think the same. It will be a boring, stupid world. We have to argue. Someone has to have different views. That's why people go to different political parties. We may agree with them. Sometimes we don't agree with them, but that's fine. That's how life is supposed to be. And in that diversity, we find the flavor of life. That is how we end up building the strengths in ourselves. And we end up building a mosaic of, thoughts and views and a stronger community and so on. That is the stuff of democracy. That's who we are. But that's not what you're talking about. But, some of us have gone to bestial levels, animal levels. You wake up in the morning and publish things which hurt others and their lives, and you don't care. So I think we may have to look for a way of dealing with some of those animals, and then look at the law, NC4, and see how do we get now these guys, how do we deal with some of these people in a manner that will enable them achieve an opportunity of being trained or being helped within the prison walls to learn how to live with others. Finally, it's my very sincere call to all of us to build a universe of responsibility. We are as vulnerable as the next person's care. That's philosophical. In other words, it doesn't matter how much I care if the next person doesn't care. We are as vulnerable as the next person wishes to care. So that whether it's in the banking sector, in the security sector, in the cyber world, we are each other's keeper in a literal sense. There are some things that you'll pick up in those numbers that Ezra was talking about, and then we're able to use those numbers to build each other's capacities to move forward. I need to point this out to all of you, my friends. When it comes to the cyber world and the dangers we face there is no government and there is no private sector. Because usually we foolishly draw that dichotomy, thinking that, if it is affecting public service, it's okay, those guys don't care and so on. You are as affected by public service in your private sector as anyone else can be. So we don't have a truncated operational environment where effects are going to be truncated so that they come to those who are in the private sector as opposed to those who are in the public sector, and so on and so forth. That's why I'm calling for, consciously, we must build a universe of responsibility where we agree institutionally that as we go forward and as we help one another, we are essentially building, an environment that is helpful to each other. Where we see weaknesses, sometimes you don't have to wait to be called upon to do that. Volunteer your services and your support and go forward and do, what needs to be done. And my friends, we will then build a stronger society, especially we in Kenya. I'm using those words advisedly, especially we, because we are the ones who are a step ahead of our colleagues even in the region in the investments we have done in digital life, and in the level of innovation that we are seeing amongst us, and in the opportunities that we have in our country. And all these can actually be reduced to nothing if we are not mindful of what happens in the cyber world. That's why we must create this universe of responsibility, where we are each other's keeper. We look out for what's happening. We cannot write off the bad behavior and the criminal conduct happening in a political group and say, hiyo ni kazi ya watu wa pande ile. It will soon affect you. We must create a universe of, our responsibility where we work together. You can expect and will get maximum cooperation from us. NC4 will give you everything we can, and we will line up all the institutional structures to support the work you do, especially because of where we are going. And we will act. We are a democratic society, but we will still be very responsible, and we will do our work as expected by the law. Where
Sir, thank you very much for the wonderful speech and the direction you've given and the support to the committee and to the country, sir. Sir, I will take this opportunity to welcome you and also invite the colleague CS, the PSS, and the IG, and the principals, CA, and ODPC, plus the KDF, sir, General Radina, sir. We're going to do the launch. CS, sir, you'll be able to press the button on a countdown, and then yes, yes. That way, sir, from this side, so that the cameras can put to see. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On a countdown, I think we'll be able to count down.
8, 7,